I'm sorry I did that to us, man. Oh.
No, please.
You know, Diddy bought his son a Bentley. Maybe, you know, he could buy you one also while you're
He
out.
got me a Lamborghini.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's nice.
I haven't gotten it yet, though.
Yeah, I know. When is that coming, that Lamborghini? We talked about this last
He
time.
had the Lamborghini for a day or two, and he had access to the house, and he knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television.
From the very first words Joe Rogan spoke on his podcast that night, it was clear something was different. His voice wasn't booming with its usual confidence, nor was it filled with the curiosity that often drives his conversations. Instead, it trembled ever so slightly, weighed down by the heaviness of what he had just learned. The subject wasn't politics, it wasn't sports, and it wasn't even one of his usual philosophical debates. It was Justin Bieber, and specifically, what happened to Bieber during his so-called sleepover with Diddy. The moment Rogan shared the details, his tone cracked, his eyes watered, and listeners knew they weren't hearing just another story. They were hearing a man heartbroken by the reality of how far power and manipulation can reach in the entertainment industry.
So check this out, yo. Justin, you ever seen the movie 48 Hours? Right now, he's having 48 hours with Diddy, him and his boy. They're having the times of their lives, you know, where we hanging out and what we doing. We can't really disclose, but it's definitely a 15-year-old's dream. You know, I have been given custody of him. You know, he signed to Usher.
I'm signed to Usher.
I had legal guardianship of Usher when you know he did his first album. I did Usher's first album. I don't have legal guardianship of him, but for the next 48 hours, he's with me.
So many horrific accusations, though, involving young singers, like children.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
It's insane.
He makes R. Kelly look like a decent guy.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
It is crazy. And meanwhile, the guy was like hanging out with Oprah, hanging out with Obama.
Jay-Z,
Everybody.
I'm sure the Clintons were there at some point.
Maybe Bill.
Joe started by explaining how Bieber, at just 15 years old, had been swept into Diddy's orbit. It wasn't by accident, it wasn't coincidence. It was carefully orchestrated under the guise of mentorship, opportunity, and the kind of career guidance any rising star would dream of. But the more evidence that emerged, the clearer it became that this wasn't guidance. It was control. Contracts rewritten in the dead of night. Temporary authority given to Diddy over Justin's travel, lodging, and even his daily schedule. Nothing about it was normal, and nothing about it protected a young teenager trying to navigate sudden superstardom. Rogan paused for a long moment after laying out those facts.
We had seen these videos of Justin Bieber being handed over to him at age 15. Great job. And for his weekend with Diddy camp. I mean, we don't know, but it certainly looks like Justin Bieber is still suffering the fallout from whatever happened to him as he was coming up the ranks of the music world. It really doesn't seem worth it. I mean, I'd love to hear more from his camp about what's real, because it's clear he's suffering. We just don't know from what. And what mother out there would give her 15-year-old boy over to a grown man who's in the rap industry for a weekend with Diddy camp without other adult supervision?
He wasn't asking the audience. He wasn't even asking Bieber. He was asking himself, asking the universe, asking anyone listening to reflect on the sheer cruelty of taking advantage of someone so young and vulnerable. That's when the tears started forming in his eyes. The UFC commentator, comedian, and tough as nails podcaster who had seen and heard just about everything was in tears because of what Diddy had done. His pain mirrored the pain of millions of fans who had grown up with Bieber's music, only to now realize what was happening behind the curtain.
Oh, how do you not be crazy? And good luck when you're older. You know, Justin Bieber had a post the other day on his Instagram talking about all the drugs that he did when he was younger and how much it fucked him up. And now he's got a relationship with the Lord, and he's got, you know, he's married, and he's trying to be a normal person.
Yeah.
But he's struggling with the fact that he was insanely famous when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Rogan then pulled out one of the most damning pieces of evidence, a handwritten note from Bieber himself. The letter, written during one of those so-called mentorship weekends, wasn't filled with excitement or gratitude. It was filled with exhaustion and desperation. In shaky handwriting, Bieber pleaded to go home early, saying the schedule was too intense, the pressure too much, and that he just wanted a break. That single note, Rogan said, hit him harder than any headline ever could. Because it was raw. It was human. It was the voice of a child begging to be treated like one. Reading it aloud, Rogan stopped mid-sentence, rubbed his face, and admitted, "This broke me."
I did not realize that you can quite literally draw a direct line from Prince to Michael Jackson, to Ye, and then now to Justin Bieber and the things that they have been saying.
I just want to, talk about this thing and see if we can't make it more fair. Of course, they wouldn't change, because if they changed, they wouldn't really exist.
There's a disintegration going on that we really have to address. Our values have been lessened to a great degree. People can say all they want to, that there's no reason for these kids to listen to music and then go shoot somebody. But, there's something that's triggering these buttons.
Record companies really, really do conspire against their artists. They steal, they cheat, they do whatever they can.
We can't just say, oh, it's okay for people to super complicate deals and to collude on deals and to not look at us as human beings, as artists and athletes and actors, that we have to be willing to stand up for that to be able to change something.
If they cannot control you, they will ruin you. So I started thinking over this weekend, what if we just stopped for 1 second accusing all of these artists of being crazy, and instead we started actually investigating some of the things that they've been saying?
The story grew darker when Rogan revealed the surveillance footage investigators had obtained. The timestamp read 3:12 a.m. In the grainy video, Bieber could be seen clutching his guitar, looking nervous, flanked by 2 assistants walking him down a corridor. No cameras flashing, no fans screaming, no stage in sight, just a teenager out of place, being shuffled from one location to another with no clear explanation. Rogan froze the frame, describing Bieber's body language in haunting detail. His shoulders hunched, his eyes darted toward the camera, almost as if silently asking for help. The clip was short, less than a minute long, but its weight was immeasurable. Rogan said it was the kind of video that stays burned into your mind forever.
What's up, man? You good?
I'm good. How are you?
All right, young brother, everything's good?
Everything's
Selling
great.
out arenas and everything? Starting to act different, huh?
No,
you ain't been calling me and hanging out the way we used to hang out.
Well, you try to get in contact with me, through all my, partners and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But you never really got my number, so.
Right, okay.
My number?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you my number.
Yeah.
As Joe continued, he painted a picture of Diddy's so-called mentorship programs, whiteboards marked with phrases like full immersion weekend, lists of vocal drills that lasted until sunrise, phone restrictions that cut Bieber off from family, and sleep schedules designed to push him to his breaking point. To outsiders, it looked like intensive training, but to Rogan and to anyone paying attention, it was conditioning. This wasn't about making Bieber better, Rogan said, voice heavy. This was about control. This was about ownership. For 3 hours, Rogan broke down document after document, testimony after testimony. He cited therapist reports detailing the long-term anxiety Bieber struggled with as a direct result of those years. He highlighted Instagram posts Bieber had written as an adult, finally confessing the toll fame had taken on his mind, his relationships, and his health. Each piece of evidence built upon the last, forming a mountain of undeniable truth. Diddy had manipulated the situation, and Bieber paid the price.
What's going on with you guys? Are you working together?
I'm not. I think that we become friends in a strange way,
It's like Robin Big.
Yeah. It's like exactly.
I'm big and you're Robin.
Yeah. No, to a lot of us, he's like a little brother. You know what I'm saying? He's not afraid to call and ask for advice. He's somebody that, in the industry-wise, the record industry is a strong family, and he's somebody that, we definitely have our arms around, and we want to protect him because he's such genuinely a nice person besides his talent. You know what I'm saying? He's one of the greatest kids that you could ever know.
What hurt Rogan the most, he admitted, was knowing how preventable it all could have been. Parents, managers, industry executives, they all had opportunities to intervene. Yet so many chose silence, blinded by the promise of fame, money, and access. If Justin hadn't survived that pressure, if he hadn't found a way to keep going, Rogan said quietly, we'd be talking about him in the past tense right now. And that thought kills me. His eyes welled with tears once again, the weight of what Bieber endured pressing down on him like a physical burden. As sponsors began pulling out of deals with Diddy in real time, Rogan reminded his listeners why this moment mattered. This isn't just about one celebrity's downfall. It's about an entire system that allowed this to happen. He explained how Diddy had been celebrated, awarded, and protected for decades, despite the red flags piling up. Only now, with the courage of Bieber's voice and the bravery of those willing to share documents, was the facade finally collapsing. Fame should open doors, Rogan said, not lock them.
Because I think if a victim comes out against Usher, it'll show how egregious it is. Because if he can be a predator, then anybody can be a predator.
Can't smile in your face the whole time.
You feel what I'm saying? Like, people look at Usher, they don't see that. They're not seeing the victim. They're not seeing that boy that got rushed to the hospital. They're not seeing what the intentions was in his heart when he took Justin Bieber there.
Oh.
Let's be honest. He took Justin Bieber there. Diddy had been trying to get to Bieber for a minute. And his management was backing him off. But it wasn't until Usher took over management and had guardianship and gave temporary guardianship to the diddler for 48 hours. Think about that.
By the end of the episode, Rogan had vowed to donate every cent of that stream's revenue to youth advocacy groups working to protect young artists. His final words were as tear-stained as they were powerful. Justin Bieber deserved guidance, not control. He deserved freedom, not fear, and the fact that someone like Diddy could steal that away, it's something I'll never forgive. The fallout has only grown since then. Corporate partnerships with Diddy have evaporated, streaming platforms have pulled content, and Affirm and fans have rallied around Bieber with a newfound understanding of his early struggles. Yet, as Rogan warned, the work isn't finished. The next tragedy is only avoided if we refuse to stay silent. If you see the signs, speak out. Don't wait for the headlines. His plea wasn't just to his audience, it was to an entire industry that had looked the other way for far too long.
And then you have him come to audition for you, right?
Actually, with a few people. My wife at the time.
Right.
It also was Perry Reed, L.A. Reid's first wife.
You were all sitting in a room somewhere.
We were in a room.
Yeah.
And I showed her the video. And Perry says, are you crazy? You better get down there and meet this kid right now. He's amazing.
When all these pics come out and all this stuff with Bieber's big penis, are you the mastermind behind that? Say, listen, show off your big penis and people will come to those concerts. Or are you sitting there?
Is that the kind of managing he's doing?
Usher, are you sitting down with him and saying, yeah, show your or leave it in your pants? I mean, do you sit him down and say, look, part of this is PR, man?
Hey, by the way, he does have a brain of his own.
Yeah, but were you shocked at the size of his penis?
Hey, listen, he has a mind of his own. What he chose to do with his penis is his prerogative. He's managing that aspect of his life.
But Usher is somebody...
I have nothing to do with Justin Bieber's private parts, man.
This script closes not with Diddy's downfall, but with Bieber's resilience. Rogan reminded everyone that despite everything, Bieber has fought to reclaim his life. He found faith, built a family, and continues to create music on his own terms. His journey stands as proof that even in the darkest of circumstances, light can emerge. And as Rogan wiped the last of his tears, he left his audience with one simple, heartbreaking truth. Success should never cost a child their innocence. And it should never give someone like Diddy the power to take it.
Months ago, I was really struggling mentally and emotionally, and just there was so many things that were adding up, and I wasn't able to enjoy any of the things that I owned.
That stuff's not going to matter to you.
None of the actual things did anything because I was so hurt and I was so confused and I was so sick and there was all these things and I was like, I can't, there's like, you just can't, like you said, you can't enjoy the actual physical, tangible, like things.
If so, bump somebody. All right, thanks. I love you, man. Bye. I got my MTV out. Savage! I'm a savage! Oh! I'm a savage! Whatever I want, I'm going to get! Whatever I want, I have to get!
After Rogan's heartbreaking breakdown, the conversation shifted toward accountability. He leaned forward, his voice raw, and asked the question that lingered in every listener's mind. How many others had gone through the same thing as Bieber but never had the platform to speak out? The idea that Bieber's story could represent just the tip of the iceberg tore at Rogan. He explained that when one person with power is exposed, it often unravels a much bigger system hiding beneath the surface. If this happened to Justin, Rogan said, what about the ones we don't even know about? What about the kids who didn't make it out with their careers intact?
Flown out to Atlanta by a manager. His name's Scooter Braun. Flown out to Atlanta just to meet with him and meet different producers and different people. I was actually going to meet Jermaine Dupri at his studio. And who rolls up? Usher in his Range Rover.
Justin Bieber was very young when he came into Diddy's circle. And that tape you referenced of the two of them about to spend 48 hours together or having just was disturbing. And there's no question he had a lot of exposure to this guy. And I think he should say something.
The weight of that thought crushed him. He admitted that it wasn't just sadness for Bieber, it was sadness for every young performer who had been promised the world but found themselves trapped instead. Rogan pointed out that the industry is built to silence those voices, especially when money and influence are at stake. He criticized the executives who allowed Diddy to maintain unchecked authority for so long, people who saw the warning signs but chose not to act. That silence is complicity, Rogan said firmly. It's not just on Diddy. It's on everyone who stood by and let it happen. The flood of reactions pouring into Rogan's show underscored how deeply his words resonated. Fans called in, some in tears themselves, describing how Bieber's story mirrored their own struggles with manipulation in other parts of life. Musicians, small creators, and even former employees of big labels wrote in, sharing stories of long nights, impossible demands, and contracts designed to trap instead of uplift. Rogan read some of these accounts live, each one reinforcing the sense that Bieber's ordeal wasn't an isolated event. It was part of a cycle.
You say this about Justin Bieber. When people hear about him going insane, like, of course he's going insane. You have no idea what it would be like to be him and to be 17 years old. And girls literally trying to break into his house. They're coming down chimneys. They're flying in on parachutes. They're doing anything they can. They just want to be around him. You want him to be normal?
Oh, man, poor guy.
Anyways, I want to also just show you this montage. This is a montage that was shared by Evie Magazine. They do great work on their TikTok of Justin Bieber, again, just 15 years old, in Hollywood, surrounded by a bunch of adults. And you let me know if any of this registers to you as normal. Take a listen.
Wow. I feel violated right now. Wow.
Lean into me again. You smell amazing. How old are you?
Thank you.
How old are you?
I'm 16. I'll be 17 in like 2 weeks.
I don't ever remember smelling that good at 16. Like that was bad.
Yeah.
Wow, look at your eyes. Look at what a beautiful face. All right, now it's time to...
This is where Rogan's sadness turned into determination. He vowed that his platform would never stop shining a light on these issues. He wasn't content to simply expose Diddy's actions. He wanted systemic change. He called for stricter oversight of how young talent is managed, real protections for minors in the entertainment industry, and a complete overhaul of the way contracts are written. No kid should ever go through what Bieber went through, Rogan said, his voice breaking again. And the only way to stop it is to change the system that allowed it.
The you of then was on a path of self-destruction. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would have, for sure, 100%. Yeah. It would have been no bueno. It was bad. I don't know if I'd be alive for sure. It was dark. So I'm very, very grateful to have influences in my life that have played a huge part in me seeing their relationship with Jesus and their relationship with their wives and their relationship with their kids and saying that's what I want. But I want to definitely tell my story so that if that resonates to anybody, that they can hopefully. But yeah, just protecting those moments, because people take for granted encounters. And
he did an interview back in 2020 with Zane Lowe. I think this was on Apple Music. And he was speaking about another young artist that was coming up, Billie Eilish, and Eilish. And he was basically speaking about how he wanted to protect her because she was now another young person, a rising artist in the industry. And sort of out of nowhere, he became quite overcome with emotion.
The emotional intensity of that episode marked a turning point. Instead of brushing off Bieber's struggles as just another celebrity story, Rogan's sadness gave it gravity. It became a national conversation, trending across platforms and dominating headlines. Major outlets began questioning how many other stars had endured similar ordeals. Sponsors continued cutting ties with Diddy, one after another, fearful of being associated with his name. Rogan's tears, his heartfelt plea, became the catalyst for a broader movement demanding transparency and accountability. Even weeks later, Rogan couldn't shake the weight of Bieber's story. On later episodes, he revisited the subject, often pausing mid-sentence, his sadness still lingering. He reminded listeners that while scandals come and go, the human cost behind them doesn't disappear. Justin Bieber may have survived, but his struggles left scars, and those scars served as a reminder of what unchecked power can do. Every time we talk about this, Rogan said quietly, it's a chance to make sure the same thing doesn't happen again. Rogan's grief over Bieber's story soon gave way to another wave of reflection. He began dissecting the way the industry had propped Diddy up for decades, calling him a visionary, a mogul, a genius. Joe's tone turned heavy as he admitted that these labels now felt like lies that blinded the public from seeing the harm underneath. We were all sold an image, Rogan said, his voice lowering. The flashy lifestyle, the parties, the hits on the radio, it was all designed to keep people distracted from the truth. And the truth is ugly. He recounted moments when Diddy bragged about his influence over rising stars, clips that were once laughed off as harmless banter but now felt more like confessions. Go back and watch those interviews. Rogan urged. Look at his eyes. Listen to how he talks about control, about having kids under his wing. It wasn't mentorship, it was domination, and we let him disguise it as charm. The sadness in Rogan's voice was overwhelming, his disappointment cutting deeper with every word. From there, Joe shifted the conversation toward Justin Bieber's resilience. He made it clear that while the pain Bieber endured can never be erased, his ability to come forward and speak openly about his struggles was courageous. Rogan praised Bieber for rebuilding his life, finding stability, and continuing to create music despite the scars left behind. But he stressed that this strength didn't erase the responsibility of those who allowed the trauma to happen. It's not on Justin to make peace with it. It's on the people who failed him to answer for what they did. As Rogan continued, he painted a vivid picture of the ripple effects across the entertainment world. Major corporations had already started distancing themselves from Diddy. Sponsorships ended, projects halted, and music platforms quietly adjusted playlists to reduce exposure. They're finally realizing what we should have seen years ago, Rogan said, that associating with a man who preyed on young artists comes with consequences. He added that while these moves were welcome, they also rang hollow. Where was this accountability when Bieber was 15? Where was this energy when he needed protection? The podcast episode wasn't just about Diddy's downfall, it was a warning about the culture that allowed him to thrive. Rogan called out the executives, the enablers, and even the fans who turned a blind eye in exchange for entertainment. We can't keep rewarding bad people because they make good music, he said. We can't keep handing them trophies while ignoring the cost of their success. If Bieber's pain doesn't wake us up, then nothing will. Rogan ended that segment of the show by making a personal vow. He said he would continue to speak about Bieber's story not out of obsession with scandal, but because he believed it represented something much bigger than one man's actions. This is about kids being safe in an industry that chews them up. This is about accountability that has been missing for too long. And this is about making sure the next Justin Bieber doesn't have to write a desperate note begging to go home. His voice cracked one final time, the sadness heavy in the room as he concluded, Diddy might have stolen Justin's peace for a time, but he will not steal the truth.